My brother emptied my accounts and vanished with my girlfriend. I was heartbroken, until my 13-year-old daughter said, "Dad, don't worry, I handled it." Then days later, my brother called screaming. So this happened about 8 months ago, and I'm finally ready to talk about it because the fallout is still giving me life. I'm 34, work in logistics management, and thought I had my life pretty much figured out. Spoiler alert, I didn't. Let me set the scene. I've got a daughter, Lily, who just turned 13. She lives with me full-time after her mom passed away from cancer 3 years ago. Yeah, that part sucks. But we've built a solid life together. Just the two of us against the world type of thing. She's sharp as hell, way smarter than I was at her age, and honestly more mature than most adults I know. The kind of kid who taught herself to code at 10 because she was bored during summer break. The kind who reads cybersecurity articles for fun and corrects my password choices. After her mom died, it was rough for both of us. I won't pretend otherwise. But we figured it out. Created routines, learned to communicate, became this tight unit that didn't need anyone else. She'd come to my office after school sometimes, do homework in the break room while I finished up. We'd grab dinner on the way home, talk about our days, just exist together in this comfortable space we'd built. I worked hard to make sure she had stability. Made every school event, every parent-teacher conference, every science fair. Learned to braid hair from YouTube videos. Figured out the whole period talk way earlier than I was ready for. We were doing okay. Better than okay, actually. Then there's my brother, Kyle. 2 years younger than me. Always been the golden child in our family despite being a complete screw-up. I'm talking dropped out of college twice. Couldn't hold a job for more than 6 months. Borrowed money from everyone including our 80-year-old grandmother. But somehow he had this charm that made people give him endless chances. Our parents always made excuses for him while I was expected to have my life together because I was the responsible one. Growing up, I was the one who got lectured about responsibility when I brought home a B. Kyle could fail entire semesters, and our parents would talk about how school just wasn't his thing, how he'd find his path eventually. I paid for my own college working 2 jobs. Kyle got his tuition paid for twice before he dropped out both times. I bought my first car with money I'd saved since I was 15. Kyle got 3 cars bought for him after he wrecked or sold the previous ones. The pattern never changed. I'd build something, achieve something, work for something, and it was just expected. Kyle would mess up, need help, create drama, and everyone would rush to fix it for him. Made family gatherings fun, let me tell you. Nothing like watching your parents hand your brother money while telling you that you're doing great and don't need any help. And finally, there's Brittany. We'd been dating for about a year and a half. Met her at a friend's cookout. She was funny, seemed down to earth, worked as a dental hygienist. She had this laugh that made other people want to laugh, told decent stories, didn't seem high maintenance. Things were good, not perfect, but good enough that I was thinking about long-term plans. I introduced her to Lily after about 3 months of dating. Didn't want to parade people through my daughter's life if they weren't going to stick around. Brittany seemed to understand that. Said she appreciated me being a protective dad. They got along okay. Not besties or anything, but Lily would hang out with us sometimes. Didn't complain when Brittany came over. That was good enough for me. Brittany knew the deal from the start. Lily came first. Always. If there was a conflict between something Brittany wanted to do and something Lily needed, Lily won. Every time. Brittany said she got it, said she respected it. Looking back, I think she just said what I wanted to hear. There were small things I overlooked. The way she'd get annoyed if I had to cancel plans because Lily was sick. How she'd make comments about Lily being old enough to stay home alone more often. Little suggestions that maybe I was being too protective, too involved, too focused on my kid. I'd brush it off, tell myself she just didn't understand because she didn't have children. Should have paid more attention to those red flags. Should have noticed that someone who claims to respect your priorities but constantly tries to change them isn't actually respectful at all. But I was lonely, and she was there, and it was nice to have another adult around sometimes. So I ignored the signs. Here's where it gets interesting. About 9 months ago, Kyle showed up at my place looking rough. Said he'd lost his apartment, got behind on rent, needed a place to crash for a couple weeks. The story was the same as always. Bad luck, circumstances beyond his control, just needed a little help to get back on his feet. Our parents had apparently finally cut him off financially after the 5th or 6th time he'd asked for rent money. So I was his next stop. I should have said no. I really should have. Every instinct told me this was a mistake. But he's family, and despite everything, there was still this small part of me that thought maybe this time would be different. Maybe if I helped him, he'd actually get his act together. And yeah, I'm apparently an idiot. So I let him stay in the spare room. Figured 2 weeks wouldn't kill me. Lily wasn't happy about it. She'd never really liked Kyle, even when she was younger. Said he gave her bad vibes. When I told her he was staying with us temporarily, she looked at me and said, "This is going to end badly." I told her to give him a chance. She said, "When has giving him a chance ever worked out?" Couldn't really argue with that, but I'd already said yes. 2 weeks turned into 3, then 4, then 6. He wasn't looking for jobs despite saying he was. I'd come home and he'd be on the couch playing video games, same spot as when I left that morning. Wouldn't help with dishes, wouldn't take out trash, wouldn't even clean up after himself. He'd eat the groceries I bought, use the utilities I paid for, and contribute absolutely nothing. When I'd bring it up, he'd get defensive. Say he was dealing with depression, needed time to figure things out. I was being too harsh on him. Brittany would back him up. Tell me I should be more understanding, more supportive. That family helps family. She'd give me these disappointed looks like I was being the unreasonable one for expecting a 32-year-old man to contribute to the household he was living in for free. That should have been a massive red flag, like air raid siren sized. But I just thought she had a soft heart. Didn't understand how Kyle operated. Didn't realize she was already on his side for a reason. I work long hours sometimes. Logistics management means I'm dealing with shipping schedules, warehouse issues, driver problems, inventory discrepancies, the whole 9 yards. Some weeks I'd pull 50 to 60 hours easy, especially during busy seasons. The job pays well, keeps a roof over our heads, funds Lily's college savings account, so I don't complain about the hours. Brittany worked more normal hours, usually done by 4 p.m., had weekends off unless there was an emergency. Kyle was always home, obviously, since he wasn't actually looking for work. Looking back, I can map out exactly when it started. About 3 weeks after Kyle moved in. That's when Brittany started finding reasons to come over when I wasn't home. Just wanted to check on Kyle, make sure he's doing okay. Or, I brought over some food I made, thought you guys might want it. Always these thoughtful-seeming gestures that put her in my house when I wasn't there. Lily mentioned it to me once. Said Brittany was coming over a lot during the day. I asked Brittany about it. Casual-like. She said she was worried about Kyle's mental state. Wanted to make sure he wasn't isolating himself. I thought it was nice of her to care. Yeah, nice. You can probably see where this is going. I started noticing little things. Brittany's car at my place on days she said she was working late. Kyle suddenly being in a good mood all the time, actually showering regularly, doing his laundry. The spare room door locked during the day when I'd come home for lunch, which was weird because Kyle never locked doors. Once I heard whispering stop abruptly when I came in through the garage, but I talked myself out of suspecting anything, because surely nobody could be that trashy, right? Surely my own brother wouldn't cross that line. Surely Brittany, who I'd been planning a future with, wouldn't do that to me. I made excuses. Told myself I was being paranoid. The car thing was coincidence. Kyle was finally getting his life together. That's why he was in better spirits. The locked door was about privacy. Lily wasn't buying it. She'd watch Brittany and Kyle interact during the rare times I was home when Brittany visited, and I could see her brain working. She'd get this look on her face, this suspicious, calculating look. One night she asked me, "Dad, do you think Brittany and Uncle Kyle are acting weird together?" I asked what she meant. She shrugged. "I don't know. They just seem, I don't know, different when you're not around." I told her she was probably imagining things. She looked at me like I was being deliberately dense. "Okay, Dad, if you say so." That was about a week before everything blew up. The real fun started on a Tuesday. I'd been planning to surprise Brittany with dinner reservations for our anniversary. Nothing fancy, just this Italian place she liked. I'd made reservations weeks ago, had it all planned out. Was going to leave work early, pick her up, nice dinner, maybe a walk after. Simple stuff. I got off work at 2 p.m., stopped by her apartment to pick her up around 2:30, used the spare key she'd given me months ago for emergencies. Called out when I walked in. No answer. The apartment was empty, but her work bag was there on the kitchen counter. Her car was in the lot. Her phone was somewhere inside. I could see her laptop open on the couch, with a half-finished cup of coffee next to it. Everything looked normal, like she'd just stepped out for a minute. Except she wasn't there. That weird feeling hit my stomach. You know the one. That instinct that something's wrong, but you can't quite place it. I called her phone. Heard it ringing from the bedroom. Walked in there, and her phone was on the nightstand next to the bed, buzzing with my call, plugged into charge. Next to a note in her handwriting with my address on it, and 2:30 written underneath. My address. The time I'd said I'd pick her up, like she'd needed a reminder. But she wasn't here. She was somewhere else at 2:30, and I knew exactly where. I'm not an idiot. Well, I am, but not that much of one. The pieces clicked together all at once. The car at my place, the locked door, the whispering, Brittany's sudden support of Kyle, her being at my house during the day. All of it made horrible, perfect sense. I drove home going exactly the speed limit because I wasn't about to catch a ticket on top of whatever was waiting for me. Took me 17 minutes. I counted. Pulled into my driveway at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon. Both their cars were there. Kyle's beat-up Honda and Brittany's Toyota parked side by side in my driveway, like it was the most natural thing in the world. The front door was unlocked. I walked in quiet. The house was too quiet, actually, except for noise coming from the spare room. The room where Kyle was staying. Sounds that made it crystal clear what was happening in there. I stood outside that door for maybe 30 seconds, just processing. Part of me wanted to kick it down. Part of me wanted to walk out and pretend I'd never seen anything. Part of me just felt hollow, empty, like I was watching this happen to someone else. Then I thought about Lily, about what she'd think if I just let this slide, about what kind of example that would set, about the fact that this was my house, my life, my relationship, and my brother, and I wasn't going to be the coward who just accepted it. I pulled out my phone, opened the voice recorder, hit record, knocked on the door loud enough to be heard clearly over whatever was happening inside. The scrambling inside was almost funny. Almost. Lots of movement, rushed whispers, the sound of people trying to get dressed fast. I didn't yell, didn't break the door down, didn't even raise my voice. Just said through it, nice and calm, "Kyle, Brittany, you've got 30 minutes to be out of my house. After that, I'm calling the police for trespassing. Your time starts now." Then I turned off the recording, walked to my living room, and sat on the couch. Pulled up the police non-emergency number on my phone. Set a timer for 30 minutes. Waited. My hands were shaking. Not from anger yet, that would come later. Just from adrenaline. From the sheer unreality of the situation. My brother and my girlfriend. In my house. In the spare room where I'd let him stay, out of the goodness of my heart. They came out about 15 minutes later. Brittany was crying. Makeup smeared. Trying to fix her hair. Kyle had this look on his face. This almost smirk. Like he was trying not to laugh. Like this was all some big joke. Like he'd won something. Brittany started immediately. "Baby, please let me explain. This isn't what it looks like." I held up my hand. "Stop. I don't want to hear it. But you don't understand. I understand perfectly. You've been sleeping with my brother in my house while I was at work. There's nothing to explain. Now leave." She tried a different approach. Started apologizing, saying it was a mistake. It didn't mean anything. She loved me. We could work through this. All the greatest hits. I just kept saying, "Leave." Kyle finally spoke up, and that smirk was still there. "Come on, man. Don't be dramatic. These things happen. Nobody got hurt." I looked at him. Really looked at him. This person who shared my DNA, who I'd defended to our parents, who I'd let into my home when nobody else would. And I felt nothing. No brotherly love, no family connection, nothing. "You lived in my house," I said. "Ate my food. Used my electricity, my water, my Wi-Fi. I gave you a place to stay when mom and dad wouldn't. And you decided to repay me by sleeping with my girlfriend. We're done. Get out." The smirk faded a little. "You're really going to throw me out over this? You made your choice. Now I'm making mine. You've got 15 minutes left." Brittany tried again. Kept crying, kept apologizing. Tried to touch my arm and I stepped back. Told her she needed to leave now. Kyle grabbed his stuff from the spare room. Didn't take long since he'd been living out of a duffel bag anyway. Brittany just stood there crying until I told her one more time to go. They finally left. I locked the door behind them, engaged the deadbolt, put on the chain. Then I went to my room and just sat on the bed. Felt absolutely nothing at first. Just numb. Empty. Like someone had scooped out my insides and left a shell. Didn't cry. Didn't punch walls. Just sat there staring at nothing. Around 3:15, reality started setting in. The anger hadn't hit yet. Just this overwhelming sense of betrayal. My brother. My own brother. The person who was supposed to have my back. Who I'd defended my entire life. Who I'd taken in when he had nowhere else to go. And my girlfriend. Who I'd been planning a future with. Who'd met my daughter. Who I'd trusted. Gone. Both of them. Or not gone yet, technically. But they might as well have been. The relationships were dead the second I heard those sounds through that door. Lily came home from school around 3:30. She takes the bus, usually gets home between 3:25 and 3:35 depending on traffic. I heard her key in the lock, Heard her backpack hit the floor in the entryway like it does every day. She called out, "I'm home," like normal. I didn't answer right away. Couldn't quite get my voice to work. She walked into the living room, saw me sitting there, and stopped. Just stopped in the doorway and looked at me. This kid who'd been reading my moods since she was old enough to talk, who knew every expression on my face, who could tell when something was wrong before I even opened my mouth. "What happened?" she asked. Not, "What's wrong?" or "Are you okay?" Just straight to, "What happened?" Because she knew something had. I told her. Kept it age-appropriate but honest. I wasn't going to lie to her or sugarcoat it. She deserved the truth. I said that I'd caught Uncle Kyle and Brittany together, that they'd been seeing each other behind my back, that they were gone now and wouldn't be coming back. Her face went through about 5 different emotions in rapid succession. Shock first, then understanding like pieces were clicking together, then anger, then something colder, something calculating. "That's disgusting," she said, and her voice had this flat quality to it that I'd never heard before. "Uncle Kyle is trash, and she's worse for going along with it. Can't argue with that assessment." She came and sat next to me on the couch. Didn't try to hug me or say comforting things. Just sat there. After a minute, she said, "I knew something was going on. I tried to tell you. I know, you were right. I should have listened." "Yeah, you should have." She wasn't being mean about it, just stating facts. "So what are you going to do now?" Honest answer. I had no idea. I was just trying to process it all, trying to figure out how my life had imploded in the space of an afternoon. "I don't know yet," I admitted. "Change the locks tomorrow. Figure out the rest as I go." She nodded, pulled out her phone and started typing something. I didn't ask what. Figured she was texting a friend or something, venting about her uncle being terrible. I left her alone. We ordered pizza for dinner that night. Didn't feel like cooking, didn't feel like talking. Just ate in silence while watching some mindless show on TV. Normal evening routine with this massive thing hanging over both of us that we weren't addressing yet. That night, I couldn't sleep. Lay in bed staring at the ceiling, brain running through everything. How long had it been going on? Had they laughed about me? Had this been their plan from the start? Or did it just happen? Did it even matter? Around 2 a.m., I got up and started thinking about practical things. Couldn't change the past, but I could protect the future. Changed all my passwords on my phone right then. Bank accounts, email, social media, everything. Set up 2-factor authentication on anything that would let me. Called a locksmith first thing Wednesday morning. Had them come out and change all the locks by noon. Cost me $300, but it was worth it to know Kyle couldn't just walk back in. While the locksmith worked, I went through the house looking for anything Kyle might have left behind. Found some clothes, toiletries, a charger. Threw it all in a trash bag and left it on the porch. Then I called the bank. Needed to make sure my accounts were secure. That Kyle hadn't tried anything while he'd been living here. The automated system told me to log in online to check recent activity. I logged in around 1 p.m. Wednesday afternoon. Checked my checking account first. Balance looked wrong. Way wrong. Should have had about $8,000 in there from my last paycheck and what was left from the month. Balance showed $342. Felt my stomach drop. Checked the transaction history. 3 transfers. One Tuesday night at 11:47 p.m. for $3,000. One Wednesday morning at 2:15 a.m. for $2,500. One Wednesday at 6:33 a.m. for $2,100. All to an external account. All marked as completed. Clicked over to savings. Should have had about $28,000 in there. College fund for Lily, emergency savings, everything. Balance showed $3,200. More transfers. 5 of them over Tuesday night and Wednesday morning, totaling $24,800. Status showed pending on most of them, but one for $8,000 had already cleared. Checked my retirement account, the one through work. Someone had tried to access it. Login attempt starting Tuesday at 11:52 p.m., continuing through the night. The account was locked due to suspicious activity. I called the bank. Hands shaking so bad I could barely dial. Got transferred 3 times before reaching someone in fraud prevention. Explained what happened. She asked me to verify some information, checked the accounts, made some notes. "Sir, it appears these transfers were initiated using your valid login credentials and security information. The authentication was successful on all attempts." "I didn't make those transfers," I said. "Someone stole my information. Do you know who might have had access to your account details?" "Yeah, I knew exactly who. My brother, who'd lived in my house for 6 weeks. Who'd probably watched me log into accounts, who could have looked through my papers, who I'd stupidly trusted not to steal from me. And Brittany, who I'd given my bank login to 6 months ago when I had the flu and needed her to pay some bills for me, who'd said she deleted the information after, but obviously hadn't. Told the fraud rep all of this. She made more notes, said they'd start an investigation. But these things take time. Asked if I wanted to file a police report. Yeah, I did. Spent Wednesday afternoon at the police station. Filed a report for identity theft and fraud. Gave them everything. The timeline, the amounts, Kyle's information, Brittany's involvement. The officer taking the report was sympathetic but honest. Said these cases are hard to prove, especially with family. Even with evidence, might take months to resolve. Might not get the money back at all. Asked what I should do in the meantime. He suggested getting a lawyer, freezing my credit, monitoring everything closely, and honestly, accepting that the money might be gone. Drove home feeling worse than I had Tuesday. Tuesday was emotional betrayal. This was financial destruction. That money represented years of savings. Lily's education, our security, gone. Transferred to Kyle's account while he was planning his exit. Thursday morning, I woke up to 17 alerts from my bank. More transfer attempts. All blocked now since I'd reported the fraud. But it showed Kyle was still trying. The retirement account, my credit cards, even tried to open a new line of credit in my name. The bank's fraud department called me directly. Asked me to come in, bring ID, sign some affidavits. Spent 2 hours there Thursday afternoon going through everything. They could reverse the savings transfers that hadn't cleared yet. Got back about $16,800 of that. But the checking account money? Already gone. Sent to Kyle's account, which he'd apparently emptied immediately at an ATM. Multiple withdrawals. Tuesday night and Wednesday morning. Maximum daily limit each time. Total amount I'd lost. Just over $43,000. I had about $900 in my wallet and the savings money they'd frozen pending investigation, which I couldn't access yet. My mortgage payment was due in a week. Lily's school expenses, groceries, utilities, car payment, insurance, everything ran through that checking account. Everything was set up on autopay, and there was no money to pay any of it. I sat in my car outside the bank and felt completely defeated. Not angry yet, that would come later. Just completely defeated. My brother had stolen from me twice in 1 week. Took my girlfriend, took my money, and left me holding the bag, while he and Brittany ran off to start their new life funded by my savings. Called my boss, explained I had a family emergency and needed to take a personal day Friday. He was cool about it. Said take whatever time I needed. Good boss. Didn't ask questions. Drove home in a daze. Thursday afternoon, about 4 p.m. Lily was already back from school, doing homework at the kitchen table like normal. She looked up when I walked in, took one look at my face and put down her pencil. "It's bad, isn't it?" she asked. I sat down across from her. Told her about the money. All of it. How much was gone. How it happened. What the bank said. What the police said. Watched her process it all. Expected her to freak out, cry, panic. We were financially ruined. Her college fund was gone. Our emergency savings was gone. We were screwed. Instead, she got very quiet, very still. That calculating look came back to her face. Then she said, "Dad, don't worry. I handled it." I blinked at her. "What do you mean you handled it?" She pulled out her phone, opened it, and showed me a folder with about 40 screenshots. Bank transfers, text messages, photos, documents I didn't recognize. "When did you do this?" I asked. "Tuesday night after you told me. I couldn't sleep, so I did some digging. Turns out my 13-year-old daughter is way more tech-savvy than I gave her credit for. While I was lying awake feeling sorry for myself, she'd hacked into Kyle's email account, used a password recovery method combined with some information she knew about him, got into his email, then his social media, then started documenting everything she found. The text messages between Kyle and Brittany going back 4 months. Planning when to hook up, laughing about hiding it from me, talking about taking my money and running off together. Brittany telling Kyle about my bank account information because I'd given her my passwords once when I was sick and needed her to pay some bills. Kyle planning the whole theft, discussing how much he could take, when to do it, where they'd go after. They were planning to move to Arizona, apparently. Start fresh with my money. But here's the thing that made me actually smile for the first time in days. Lily hadn't just collected evidence. She'd been busy on Tuesday night. She'd forwarded all those screenshots to our parents, to Kyle's employer from his last job, to Brittany's boss at the dental office, to Brittany's parents, who apparently had no idea their daughter was involved with a guy living with his brother, to my extended family, to mutual friends. Then she'd posted a carefully edited version on Kyle's social media accounts before changing the passwords and locking him out. Nothing graphic, nothing that would get her in trouble, just a simple statement. For anyone wondering why I vanished, I stole $43,000 from my brother after sleeping with his girlfriend in his house. If you've ever trusted me with anything, you might want to check your accounts. The post had been up for about 6 hours before Kyle managed to get it taken down. But by then, over 200 people had seen it, shared it, commented on it. I looked at my daughter, this kid who should have been worried about algebra homework and friend drama, and I didn't know whether to ground her or hug her. Lily, you can't just hack into people's accounts, I said, trying to sound like a responsible parent. She looked at me dead in the eye. He stole from us. She betrayed you. They were going to run away with your money, Dad. Our money. The money for my college fund. For our house. For everything. I wasn't going to let them just get away with it. Hard to argue with that logic. What else did you do? I asked, kind of afraid of the answer. She smiled. Actually smiled. I sent all the evidence to the police detective handling your case. Figured it might speed things up. And I may have sent the screenshots to the bank's fraud department with a detailed timeline of when Kyle had access to your information and when the transfers happened. This kid. This brilliant, terrifying kid. Friday was quiet. Too quiet. I spent the morning on the phone with the bank's fraud department. With Lily's evidence, they were able to start the process of freezing Kyle's account and recovering the money. Still going to take time, but now they had proof it was actual theft, not a family dispute. The detective called me that afternoon, said they'd received an anonymous email with comprehensive evidence of bank fraud and identity theft, asked if I knew anything about that. I said I didn't, which was technically true since Lily sent it anonymously. He chuckled, said whoever sent it did them a huge favor. They could now pursue actual charges instead of just treating it as a civil matter. Asked if I wanted to press charges. Yeah, I did. Saturday morning, I woke up to my phone ringing. Unknown number. Almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. It was Kyle. And he was screaming. I mean, full-on losing his mind screaming. Took me a minute to even understand what he was saying through the rage and panic. Apparently, his life had fallen apart. Like, completely imploded. Our parents had called him Friday night, seen all the evidence Lily sent them. Our dad, who'd always babied Kyle, told him he was ashamed to call him his son. Cut him off completely. Our mom was so disgusted she couldn't even talk to him, just handed the phone to Dad. His former employer had sent the screenshots to his new potential employer. The job he'd lined up in Arizona? Gone. They called to tell him they'd decided to go with another candidate. Brittany's boss fired her immediately. Apparently, stealing patient information to help her boyfriend commit fraud was a violation of about 17 workplace policies. Her dental hygiene license was under review by the state board. Brittany's parents had frozen her trust fund access. I didn't even know she had a trust fund, but apparently her grandparents left her something she couldn't touch until 25, except her parents were the trustees. They'd immediately filed paperwork to revoke her access permanently. The social media post had been shared over 400 times before it was taken down. People Kyle knew from high school, college, previous jobs, everyone saw it. His name was Mud. But here's the best part. Someone had reported his car as stolen, because technically our grandfather had co-signed on the loan, and when Grandpa found out what Kyle did, he called the lender and reported it as fraudulent use. The car got repossessed Saturday morning from the cheap motel parking lot where Kyle and Brittany were staying. The bank had frozen the account with my money in it and filed fraud charges. The money was held as evidence, which meant Kyle couldn't access it, couldn't use it, couldn't do anything with it. He was broke, and the police had issued a warrant for his arrest. All of this happened between Tuesday night and Saturday morning. 4 days. My daughter had orchestrated the complete destruction of Kyle's life in 4 days. Kyle was screaming about how I'd ruined him. How could I be so vindictive? How we were family and family doesn't do this to each other. I let him rant for about 2 minutes. Then I said very calmly, "You done?" He sputtered. He started up again about how this was an overreaction. "Kyle, you stole over $40,000 from me. You slept with my girlfriend in my house. You planned this for months. You were going to take my money and disappear. The only thing I did was file a police report about a crime you committed. Everything else? That's called consequences. It was that little brat, wasn't it?" he said. "Lily did something. She's the only one smart enough to—" I cut him off. "My daughter had nothing to do with your choices. You made every decision that got you here. Own it. I'm your brother. You were my brother. You stopped being my brother when you decided I was worth less than $43,000, and a woman you'd known for 6 weeks. Now you're just a guy who stole from me, and that guy is going to face the consequences." He tried a different approach. Started begging, crying, actually crying. Said he was sorry. He'd made a mistake. He'd pay me back somehow. Please don't let them arrest him. Too late, I said. You made your choice on Tuesday. Actually, you made your choice 4 months ago when you started planning this. You don't get to unmake it now that it didn't work out. What about Brittany? He asked. She's got nothing now. No job, no money. Her parents won't talk to her. Sounds like you two are perfect for each other then. Both made terrible choices. Both facing consequences. Maybe you can figure it out together. I'm going to jail, he said. And he actually sounded like he was just realizing this. Probably, I agreed. That's what happens when you commit fraud. He hung up. Or maybe his phone died. Either way, the call ended. I sat there for a minute, phone in my hand. Lily walked into the kitchen, looked at me. That was Uncle Kyle, wasn't it? She asked. Yeah. Is he mad? Very. Good. She made herself breakfast like nothing had happened, humming while she poured cereal. I watched her, this kid who just systematically destroyed an adult's entire life to protect us, and I felt something shift in my chest. Pride, maybe, or just love. Probably both. Hey, Lily, I said. She looked up. Thank you for protecting us, for being smart, for caring enough to do something. She shrugged. You're my dad. We're a team. Someone messes with you, they mess with me. That's how it works. Simple as that. In her world, it was black and white. Someone hurt her dad, she hurt them back. No hesitation, no second guessing. The next few weeks were a blur of legal proceedings. Kyle got arrested trying to cross state lines. Flight risk, apparently. They denied him bail. Brittany cooperated with prosecutors in exchange for lesser charges. She gave them everything about how Kyle planned it. The bank recovered about $38,000 of my money. The rest got eaten up in fees. My savings was returned in full since those transfers never fully cleared. Took about 6 weeks total to get the money back. 6 weeks of juggling bills. My boss helped with an advance on my paycheck. My parents apologized for enabling Kyle. Dad sounded genuinely broken up. I told him actions matter more than words. Be there for Lily, I said. She's the one who saved us. They did. Started coming around more, taking her out once a week. Our extended family completely cut Kyle off. Nobody wanted anything to do with him after seeing what he'd done. Kyle pled guilty to avoid trial. His lawyer advised him that with the evidence against him, a trial would just result in a harsher sentence. Smart move. Probably the first smart decision he'd made in years. Sentencing hearing was in late April, about 10 weeks after everything went down. I attended. Wanted to look him in the eye one more time. Wanted him to see that I wasn't backing down. Wasn't forgiving him. Wasn't letting this slide. The courtroom was small. Just me, Kyle, his public defender, the prosecutor, the judge, and a court reporter. Kyle looked rough. Orange jumpsuit, handcuffs, hadn't shaved in days. He'd lost weight. Good. The judge reviewed the case, asked Kyle if he wanted to make a statement. Kyle stood up, looked at me, and started crying. Not the angry, aggressive crying from our phone call. Pathetic, desperate crying. He apologized, said he'd made terrible choices, asked for mercy, said he'd pay me back every penny. I sat there expressionless. Didn't react, didn't give him anything. The judge wasn't impressed either. She'd seen the evidence. Read the text messages where Kyle and Brittany laughed about stealing from me. Saw the planning that went into it. The attempts to access my retirement accounts, even after the initial theft. She gave him 3 years. Said the premeditated nature of the fraud, the family betrayal, and the lack of genuine remorse made it worse, not better. Said Kyle had shown a pattern of using people his entire life and needed to learn that actions have consequences. His lawyer tried to argue for probation. Said Kyle had no prior record, was going through a difficult time, showed genuine remorse. The judge shut that down fast. Said planning a theft for 4 months and executing it isn't a difficult time, it's a crime. Said crying in court isn't remorse, it's self-pity. 3 years, probably serve 18 months with good behavior. Kyle looked back at me as they led him away. I didn't look away, just stared right back. Let him see exactly how I felt about him. Nothing. Not anger, not hatred, not sadness, nothing. Brittany got sentenced a week later. I didn't attend that one, but the prosecutor called to tell me the outcome. Probation and community service. Had to pay restitution for her part in it. Complete 200 hours of community service, stay out of trouble for 5 years. Any violation meant she'd serve 2 years. She also lost her dental hygiene license. The state board reviewed her case, decided that violating patient privacy and using confidential information to commit fraud was grounds for permanent revocation. She could never work in dental care again. All that education, all those licensing exams, gone. Last I heard, she moved back in with her parents. They're making her pay rent, treating her like a tenant instead of a daughter. She works retail now, some clothing store at the mall. Makes minimum wage, lives in her childhood bedroom at 29 years old. Her parents won't let her near the trust fund. They're holding it until she's 35 now. And even then, she'll only get partial access. They're donating a chunk of it to charity just to make a point about consequences. Kyle's got 12 more months to go as of now. He's at a minimum security facility about 100 miles away. Our parents visit him once a month. They invited me to come along once. I declined. They asked why. I said, he's not my brother anymore. He's someone who stole from me and destroyed my trust. I don't visit people like that. Mom got upset. Said family is family, I should show forgiveness. Holding grudges isn't healthy. I told her that forgiveness is earned, not given. Kyle hasn't earned it. Sitting in jail feeling sorry for himself isn't earning it. Maybe in 10 years, after he's actually rebuilt his life and shown he's changed, maybe then we'll talk. But probably not. Dad understood. He said, your mother wants to believe people can change overnight. But you're right. Kyle needs to prove it, not just say it. People ask me sometimes if I regret how it all went down. If I wish I'd handled it differently. Been less harsh, given Kyle another chance. If I feel guilty about him being in prison, honestly, no. Not even a little bit. He made his choices, planned it out, executed it, tried to ruin me financially while betraying me personally. The fact that it blew up in his face isn't my fault. It's his. Every single consequence he's facing is a direct result of his own actions. Lily says she doesn't regret it either. Says Kyle needed to learn that actions have consequences, and nobody was teaching him that lesson. So she did. Hard to argue with a 13-year-old who's right. The other day, I got a letter from Kyle, written from jail. Long thing about how he's had time to think, realizes what he did was wrong, hopes someday I can forgive him. I read it once, then I tossed it in the recycling. Maybe in 10 years, I'll feel different. Maybe time will make me more forgiving. But right now, I've got nothing to say to him. He burned that bridge, dumped gasoline on it, and lit it on fire. You don't get to come back from that just because you wrote a nice letter from jail. Lily asked if I was going to write back. I said no. She nodded. Good. He doesn't deserve your forgiveness yet. Maybe not ever. Wise kid. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.